Welcome back, everyone, to Lift One's Forefathers, the Dad's Blueprint. My name is Akeem Bennett. This is,
Derek Bell.
and we are here to lead you on your journey as you put down brick by brick everything that you need to do to try to become a better dad. We don't have all the answers, but I promise you we will help you find them. And if you do need help finding them, you can look in the show notes and reach out to us via email, or you can go to our website at lift11, that's LIFT, the number one, ONE.com for all the resources you will need to be a great dad. Last time we talked about doing the inner work, focusing on men's mental health. Today, we're going to take it a step further. We are going to talk about how you can be the dad that you needed. Becoming the dad that we need, Derek.
Mm.
Lord of mercy. So let me tell you this, Derek. I am in a weird spot because I both had a father that wasn't there and a father that was.
Right.
My biological father, him and my mom, they didn't work out. My mom skedaddled, and we spoke very, very infrequently over the years. Meanwhile, my mom did get remarried, and I did have a stepdad in the house. So I was raised with a father, but I do know what it's like to not have one. Me and my dad, and when I say my dad, I mean my stepfather. To this day, me and him do not get along very well. A lot of it is we are a lot alike, but you know, we talked about it. Some of the things that we went through as children would definitely get somebody locked up and on 2020 nowadays. Uh, it caused me a lot of unknown trauma
Right.
that I needed to process. And it wasn't really until this year that I was able to really get it out there, how I felt, and really voice my opinion and put that information out there. And it was hard.
Mm.
It was hard because sometimes we have to remember that every example is an example.
Right.
And sometimes it might not be the example that you wanted to have, but it might be the example that you needed to have. Because everything that my stepdad taught me, I know I either need to make sure I always do this or I should never ever actually do that.
Right.
There's something to learn from everything. Um, with you going through such as, going through the loss of your father at such a young age, how did dealing with that type of, or when were you able to try to deal with that? As that's a traumatic
Well,
experience in and of itself.
well, to be honest, my dad died when I was 7, so it's kind of funny. I didn't really know what I didn't have, because when he was alive, he worked a lot,
Hmm.
but I did know I was missing something.
Yeah.
So, but I had a mother who had, she had a vision to keep me busy. And so from the time I was 8 and 9, I was 8 in Cub Scouts, I was 9 in Little League. I was 11 playing Pop Warner baseball and football. I was 12 at, I was a Boy Scout. I
Mm.
was 13 at the Boys Club. I mean, so I was constantly having, role models, whether it be my football coach, Willie West, Rich at the Boys Club, um, high school coach, Coach Gray, um, you know, my uncles, my uncle Big Boy, my uncle Benny was like a father for all the cousins who didn't have a dad, so I had,
Good. Vinny sounded like a cool
yeah,
uncle name.
Uncle Benny,
Uncle Benny, yeah, it sounded like he was a cool
and he
uncle.
was a cop, so I had all these male figures in my life that kind of steer me.
Hmm.
So when I did get old enough to understand what I didn't have, I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah. So one thing that we talked about this a little bit in the last episode. We see that we have a habit of just trying to replace
Right.
things. And when you replace it, you're not dealing with it, you're just misplacing it. So instead of dealing with the trauma, we keep ourselves busy and trying to process it. Uh, but especially as a younger dad, how old is that little man? 4? Jesus, Lord, he almost 4 years old. There are times where I think to myself, gosh, I I just need to beat him. But then I think to my like I don't want that because that's how I grew up. I
Yeah.
grew up where you got a beating the day that it happened, And you got a beating the next morning to remind you of what happened yesterday so that you don't do it again today.
Right.
And throughout all this process, you done got cussed out, you done got slapped upside the head, like all kinds of stuff. And I'm not saying they just going and just pop, 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 molly whopping you upside the head. No,
Right.
don't call the people. I'm fine. Everything's fine. But there's just so much that you have to unpack in order to make sure you don't continue the cycle.
Right.
So let me ask you this. In fact, I ain't gonna ask you. I just want you to finish the sentence.
Hmm.
You need to be seen, and what usually come after that?
And not heard.
Seen and not heard. And we from two different generations,
Oh
two
man.
different places. I grew up in South Carolina, you grew up in South Florida, but we both know, hey, seen, not heard, not heard. Like that simple
Speak when
part right there.
spoken to.
And look, don't speak too much. Don't speak too much.
Especially not around company, you know.
Grown folks is talking. So and
Right.
like those little types of things, I noticed like I'm a part of organization called Toastmasters. And Toastmasters, it teaches you confidence through public speaking. And the reason I think I enjoyed it so much was because it allowed me to have a voice. I grew up never having a voice, having to do everything that I was told to do. I had to participate in this because I was told to. I had to participate in that because I was told to. Had to go to church and be active in the church because I was told to. Had to do this at home. Why? Why are you asking why? Just do what you're told. So a big part of my childhood was understanding that I had so much stuff bottled up because I did not have freedom
Freedom.
to speak in any way,
No
shape, fashion,
structure.
or
Yeah.
form. And I had to unpack that so that I wouldn't do that to my child.
Right.
My son be getting on my nerves. I'm like, man, why are you crying? I'm like, okay. I want to just tell him to just shut up and go sit down. But Derek, you can't tell a toddler to just shut up and go sit. I can,
Right.
but then he gonna end up like I was. So I had to teach myself, relax. You have to be the adult here. Be what be for him what you needed.
Right.
And sit there and I bend down on a knee and I pray that I can get up because my knees be hurting. And I say, son, talk to me. What's going on? And after he calms down, I'll go through breathing techniques with him. After he calms down, we have a conversation and then everything is good. But I only can do that because I recognize the issues that I had to work through. So how, because you got three kids,
Four.
four kids. Yeah, I knew it was something crazy, some crazy like four kids. Lord have mercy. Um, so especially with your sons,
Right.
when you look at the things you learned, and I know you talked about this before, but when you look at the things you learned when dealing with your sons more than your daughter, when dealing with your sons, how did you make sure to try to not repeat some of the things that they weren't necessarily hurtful for you growing up, but they weren't necessarily helpful?
Well, people say, like when my children's mom relationship and when it ended, people would say, you can go UIT, you can go anywhere, make some good money, leave Tallahassee, it's not your home,
Mm,
but it was important for me, like not having a dad, it was important for me to be the last bell without a father around.
mm,
So I stayed here in Tallahassee. I could have went somewhere and made money in IT almost anywhere.
mm.
But it was more important for me to stay here and help raise my children because
Be present.
I felt like with boys, you're going to invest on the front end or the back end. And I would rather invest on the front end versus investing on the back end, probation, whatever, yada yada. So I chose to stay here and make sure I could help raise my sons
Mm.
and keep my eyes on them. So that way, girls are expensive, but not the way boys are expensive. You know, I'd rather spend money on girls on the front end.
Girls is
Right.
you're gonna spend money, but you do a little bit consistently over time.
Right. With boys,
With
you got to get them
boys,
out of trouble.
all of a sudden it's like I ain't have to spend anything on you the last 6 months, and now we got to pay $4,000 for a bond.
Right, 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 right. So that kind of fueled my desire to kind of be a close father with them
Hmm.
because I knew what I didn't have. And I mean, I think I turned out okay to be raised by a single mom without having a strong male influence in the house.
Mhm.
But I wanted them to always know that I was a phone call away, a conversation away. And I would ask them one question. If their mother had a guy, I say, do y'all like him? And is he nice? If those two answers came back yes, I'm good. We had that kind of understanding. So I wanted to make sure they matriculated. And all I was I never forget, I was dating this girl and she said, you got two sons and they don't want to be, neither want to be a rapper. You're doing a good job. And I was like, well, growing up, I had to be, you want to either be an athlete or sell drugs,
Yeah.
because that's how you're going to get the cars and the girls, So I played sports until I got hurt. But the thing is that I wanted my children to be good people, not good athletes, not what I want to be good people first.
Mhm.
And I knew that was going to come from me being there and kind of steering them when they ran into these challenges of how they wanted to be. So in elementary school, y'all not finished, they couldn't sag. Other kids could sag and I mean, what I'm saying? But if I
Yeah.
wasn't around,
Yeah.
they might be
They would have done
sagging.
it.
You know
They
what I'm
would have done
saying?
it.
So it was just little things like that. I made a conscious decision to kind of be here and be present. And now they're older, I'm not spending money on the back end,
Mm.
because I invested on the front end. So sometimes that investment on the front end gonna save you a lot of money on the back end, that time
I
investment.
I actually have never heard it put that way, and I love that. The investment on the front end, or you
You're
go
gonna pay
invest on
one
the
way or
back end.
another.
It's gonna
You're gonna
happen.
have to pay. We got
You're
yeah,
gonna have it's gonna happen one way or another. So I love that. Being a finance guy too. Oh, I love that. I love that example. Um, I know that for a lot of people out there, you don't know how to unpack what happened in childhood because it's just normal. It's what's expected. When I'm talking to some of my Hispanic friends and they bring up, or my Haitian friends and they bring up how their mama just came at them with the shoe. Now we had a rough time, but I ain't never been. You ain't come at me
that
with no
water
shoe.
hose, that water hose
You
either.
know what I'm saying? Like there's some weird stuff out there, but that was just kind of threw me off. But it's so normal.
Yeah,
It's so normal to hear that. One thing I want to remind folks, when you are unpacking your childhood trauma,
yeah,
it does not have to be trauma for your parents. It doesn't have to be trauma for anyone but you. If something made you uncomfortable, if something is sticking with you and it strongly influences who you are today, go talk to someone and figure it out. It might be good, it might not be. Who knows? Who cares? Go figure it out. Because once you figure it out, there's nowhere for you to go but up.
yeah.
Because then you know this is what I want to be. For your example, you know what kind of dad
Right.
you need it to be. And this is what I want to do for my kids. And for my example, I know some of the things that I do not want to
That's
do.
right.
And I do it for my son, do it for my kids. Um, Now we talking, look, I got a little boy. We actually brought your boy. But these girls, though.
Woo.
So, and especially, really want to get this from your point of view, being that you were raised by a single mom,
Right.
having a daughter,
Two.
you just like trouble is what it is. That's all that is. Yeah, man, right
The
there.
Lord said, replenish the earth.
Yes, yes, yes. And I see you've done your part. We appreciate it. We'll get you a plaque in the mail. But being that you were raised by a single mom and you now have daughters, what part of your childhood did you really have to kind of work on in order to be ready for that aspect of it? Because it's one thing
Well,
for us to be men and say, I know what I need to do to make sure that
right.
this young black boy becomes a black man. I know what I need to do to make sure that this young man becomes a great young man. But when you dealing with girls, I don't have daughters, man, and that sounds stressful.
Well, full transparency, when I was younger, I didn't really have a lot of structure as far as like women dating. So I dated around and I kind of probably dated too much and I carried it over to adulthood. So I wasn't always dating healthy.
Mhm.
But one thing I did always remember is that a lot of times women would tell me, like that they had issues with their father or their father was not around type of thing. So I
Mm.
knew, you know how they say that time heals wounds?
Yeah.
It goes both ways. Time heals wounds, but it also prevents wounds. So it was
Mm.
important for me to kind of show up for my daughters. My oldest daughter, she lived in when her mom left school here, she went back to Tampa. And so my oldest daughter grew up in Tampa. But I was on Greyhound back when I was in my 20s. I was on Greyhound a lot. I was at birthday parties, I was at
Hmm.
school functions because I knew that her seeing me there and not just for a couple hours, her seeing me there and doing father stuff. We go to the movies in Tampa, we go, to the fair, like giving her that time. I knew it was gonna make a difference eventually. Even though we weren't in the same city, all you gotta, with kids is time, is quality time. Like you may think it's gifts and money, but it's really time. And the older I get, like with my younger daughter, it's time. The more time you spend with girls, the less time you have to spend correcting girls.
Hmm.
Because in some way, I think, the neurology behind it, with a man and his female child, like they say, like when a woman is not around her father, she develops sooner. When a woman is around her father, she develops slower, which is probably more normal. So I just try to make sure I was always able to be around,
Hmm.
even if I wasn't with the mother. If you have a good co-parenting skills, you can still be the father you need to be for your child. There's no excuse,
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
being with somebody, not being with your child, being around your child.
Absolutely. Um, One thing that I really appreciate about you and what you just said, kids don't have a value system when it comes to money. That's why when you buy them toys, they get left in like 4 months and they never see them again. They have no value system when it comes to material things.
Right.
It's all about what are you doing and are you doing it with me? What we doing and how long we doing it for?
Yep.
That's it. I can spend all the money in the world on toys and stuff, but my son is just as happy if we went in the backyard and playing wiffle ball.
Right.
So the the one thing that or another thing, shall I say, I keep saying the one thing. Ain't no one thing, it's multiple things. Ain't no one thing. It's a lot of things out here. Um, but when we talk about really kind of unpacking and dealing with our own childhood, a big part of my growth was forgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to deal with any type of trauma, you have to forgive whatever caused you that trauma. And no, not forgive and forget. I'm not a fan of forgive and forget. I'm just the opposite. Forgive and I never forget because you're not going to put me back in that situation again. But you can't hold a grudge against somebody and expect that you're going to be able to grow. So if you have an issue that happened in your childhood, I'm not saying make amends. I ain't saying go make friends. I'm just saying you have to accept that it happened, forgive the situation. Don't have to necessarily be friends with that person, but forgive that situation so that you can grow and move forward. Because it will absolutely stunt your growth, and you'll start doing those same things to the next generation, to your kids. You know?
I think forgiveness is a superpower,
Mm.
and like for me, in spite of what might have happened in the past, if you come from a situation where your parents did not get along good, you kind of owe it to your children to make sure you do the opposite with their parent, with their
Amen.
co-parent. It doesn't, you can't repeat the same cycles and expect good outcomes, so
To that point, do you know how many people, how many fathers are not in their kids' lives and mothers that are not in their kids' lives simply because they got beef with the other parent.
right.
And that one relationship has caused you to completely say, I'm walking away and I'm done with it. And they're all sides are okay with it.
Yeah.
And the kids are just like, well, where's dad?
Right.
Where's mom? So to your point, if you got kids, you got a family, co-parent, just do what you have to do to get through it. Because otherwise, you are just perpetuating the same story right onto your kids that you worked so hard to get up out of that situation.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just not fair to the kids. It's not.
Now, I think as men, you look at how our family structure runs. I think as men, we have to be the first ones to forgive. You
Oh,
have to lead by example.
all the
You have to
time.
show this woman, whether you're with her or not, that you forgive whatever happened in the past and put the children first.
Hmm.
Because I mean, a lot of times we have these issues, simple communication, forgiveness, and you'll be surprised how quickly something can turn around because your children are watching everything and everything affects them. So if you really care about your child, you will squash any kind of beef that's petty,
And they're
you
gonna
know?
feel the energy.
Yeah.
Y'all walk around the house being petty if you want to. Them kids know. They know every time. They
A lot
know.
of times I see, and I'm not blaming anyone, but with men, if we don't have that father figure or big brother or uncle to advise us on how to move the dealing with women, we always repeat the cycle.
Absolutely.
So you have to kind of like lock in with somebody who's wiser than you, somebody who's been there. Like it's great to have married friends, it's great to have happy friends, it's great to have people who are committed together. So who are not, but even who are great co-parents to kind of give you, the wisdom and some of the blueprint on how to navigate. Because it doesn't make sense to be having the same traumas generation after generation. I
Yeah.
made a point, like my children, they don't even know how I grew up. And I'm glad they don't, but it was important for me to make sure they had a better life than me. I mean,
Mm,
every generation should get better.
absolutely.
And that's what we should strive for that, And if it doesn't happen, you got to own that. So I mean, if you really care about at a certain point in time, it's about the future. It's about the children, the next generation. At a certain point in time, you got to get rid of your traumas and your issues, unpack your bags, so you can kind of like focus on your legacy and what you how you leaving this earth.
Health is wealth, and that's not just your money, your mental health too. Health is wealth. If you can get your mental health right, unpack all the things that you have going on so that you can get rid of your trauma and reduce it, all you're doing is passing on that wealth to your children so that they're going to have their problems and you're going to have more problems. But if you can at least start with a clean slate,
Right,
you're going to help your kids start with a clean slate.
right, right.
So right now you see us, we up here, me and Derek are both wearing our 100 Black Men. We are part of the Tallahassee area chapter of 100 Black Men of America, Inc. And the reason that I wanted us to wear our shirts during this episode is because this is our way of making sure that, again, we build generational wealth because your mental health will be part of your generational wealth. This organization focuses on the community, mostly on mentoring kids. So we go out, we mentor kids. You heard Derek talking about it earlier. We go out, we mentor different kids, different people. Our whole goal is to change the community, to be the example that the community sees. And part of that initiative is making sure that we're breaking these old habits. Be there to be that voice. Just like you was just talking about, how sometimes you just need somebody to, hey man, what you
Yeah.
doing? And we, especially as men,
No man is an island.
we need it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need somebody to say, hey man, stop being a fool, stop being a dummy.
Yeah, you
I
can.
know, you know what happened. They was wrong, but guess what?
That's right.
It's okay. Again, can you forgive it?
Right.
Can you move forward? Speak your mind. Don't let no one walk over you, but can you move forward? Can you then become the example that you want your kids to see? So one of the taglines that we have is they'll be what they see. We go out, we mentor in the community so that when young kids see us, they see the example and they'll be what they see. What kind of dad are you going to be for your kids? I know yours is present.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It's
it's
just you gonna always be present.
for me. It's like I invested a lot of time in my children. And I did it intentionally because I knew that one day the time would come back to me. There was
Mhm.
when my children were young, I made a pact with God. I said, God, if I invest myself in my children, would you give me my dreams and my goals back? And he did that. And for like 15, 16 years, I just worked and took care of my kids. And so when they started graduating and matriculating, I started having so many opportunities to chase my goals and dreams again. So
Popping up.
when you see me now doing so much, it's because for a long time I was down, and I was down on purpose because I knew, nothing in life is going to come to you without sacrifice.
Amen.
So you either sacrifice now or you sacrifice later. I rather
Nothing in life
sacrifice
is
on the
free.
front end.
Nothing in life is free.
So being a father is probably one of the biggest sacrifices a man can ever make because you have to provide, protect. You have a lot of responsibility and accountability. So if you think you're going to be a good father without sacrificing a lot, you're fooling yourself.
Mm.
So it's a selfless job, and you can't expect a woman to be a bigger man than you. You have to own the
Man,
situation.
you expecting that? Don't do it.
Yeah, you have to own
Just
the situation that you created. Like if you made a child with a woman and you married or not, this is your situation. You lead by example. She'll follow you if you lead the right way. If you don't lead, then you have no say in how she leads. So I always felt like being a father was probably the biggest sacrifice I've had to make in my life, but it's also one of the most rewarding ones as well. When the
mm.
kids matriculate and you see that your work has not been in vain and your time has not been in vain.
I mean, you can say that when your youngest is, about to graduate high school.
At one time, I had a 5, a 3, and a 1 year old, and I was like 30, 29. You know what I'm saying? So trust me, I was down for a while, but God gave me the blueprint. I followed it. A little bit of faith, a little bit of hard work.
Mm.
You'd be surprised, what the outcome can be.
Yeah. So, guys, what we really want to, again, we're talking about not passing on childhood traumas that we experience coming up as dads, but it's really about you understanding your own mental health and how you can change that into mental wealth
Man,
for your children. Becoming the dad that we needed
that's right.
is so important. All of us needed different things. So,
That's
like,
right.
my main focus is making sure that my son feels that he can communicate anything to me at any time. That's what I need. That's what I needed. That's what I want
Right.
to make sure
Right.
that I give to him.
Right.
And we're gonna fall short.
It's funny,
We're gonna do it.
I never had my uncle Benny would come to my football games,
Mhm.
like in Little League and in high school, but I never missed one of my son's football games or activities. I went because I always felt like I was living vicariously through them.
Yeah.
Like when they were out there playing and I was watching them, in a way, it was me being watched by my dad who wasn't there. So a lot of times, the more things you do with your children, it'll help you heal your traumas.
Amen. Amen. It it's a yeah, that's just a lot. That's a lot to unpack right there. Yeah, it really is though. It's so therapeutic,
Yeah.
especially again, being that I was in that weird situation where I had a present dad and a non-present dad. That sounds all kinds of weird. Oh well. Either way, I had a dad that was there and a dad that wasn't there. And so a lot of folks would be like, well, you should be happy. You got somebody there cheering for you. Yeah, but still got in the back of my mind, like, why he not here?
Right.
Like, ain't he supposed to be here too?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it is something, it's something that you really have to look for. Being present and being active, putting your best foot forward and just trying can make all of the difference in the world. All the difference in the world.
I agree.
Now, now, Derek, you are the founder of Lift One. What's something as far as trying as a service that you guys have that can help dads that are out there here in the Tallahassee, Leon County area, surrounding counties, everybody, when they need those types of resources that can help them deal with mental health or learning how to deal with their child, what services does Lift One offer that can help with that, that can assist with that? Because sometimes hey man, we don't know. We ain't have no one show us, so we don't
Right.
know what to do or how to go about it. How can Lift One change that?
Well, Lift One is all about building community, and a lot of times fathers are detached. So our main goal is to get fathers reconnected and recommitted. We have programming. We had an event last month where we had fathers come out with their sons, and we gave them some like tutelage in AI and Python programming. We had an engagement with the fathers about different traumas we face. We want to make sure that fathers have safe spaces to spend with their children,
Mm.
quality time. A lot of times when you're a single father, if you're challenged already, you may not have the best environment, the best situation. Through the Parks and Recreation, we have fathers can come and spend time with their children, and they can engage in social activities as well as educational activities.
Mhm.
So it's kind of give them that safe space to reconnect and get recommitted. That's what Lift One is all about, making sure we have a healthy engagement and making sure fathers know they matter, and they also have a place and a chance to get back in their kids' lives.
And to that point, because I did come to that event, the other part of that is this again, this isn't just about helping low end communities. And yes, those are a lot of the people that need the most help. But when you are engaged with your community, the people that you meet, that you network with, you never know who they might be.
Right.
Never know. Just being a part of 100 Black Men of America and taking part in some of the activities that we have, I was able to meet lawyers, meet past mayors, governors, sheriffs, all different types of people. And what happens when you meet those types of individuals? You find out all types of information, resources that they may have, and here's the best part. You are surrounding yourself with like-minded people that want you to be successful.
Amen.
They want you to be successful. One of the reasons that I got involved with this was uh, I definitely want to help mentor the kids. Why? Because I know that there's a bunch of Akeems out there that need someone to say, it's okay, come talk to me. Let's make this work.
Right.
Believe in yourself. It took me way too long to believe in myself, and I refuse to let that happen to my child.
Right.
Why? Because what are we doing, folks? We are building generational wealth by starting with our mental health,
Amen.
becoming the dad that we want to be. So, folks, thank you for joining us today on another episode of Forefathers, the Dad's Blueprint. You can look in the show notes to see our email down there. Shoot us a message if you got a question. Give us a follow on YouTube, Lift One Forefathers. That's where our video podcast is. Otherwise, search for Forefathers, the Dad Blueprint on any listening service that you have, any podcast service. We out there on we on iHeartRadio, we on Apple Podcasts, we on Spotify, we on a couple other things that I signed us up for, and Lord knows I never heard of them, but somebody's out there listening. And then of course, check us out at lift11.com. That's LIFT, the number one, ONE.com. Derek, you got anything else for the good of the people before we sign off today?
Nope. Once again, it's been a pleasure sharing ourselves with you. We hope this is very intentional. We hope this is also something you can build on. And of course, we wish you the best holiday season.
Absolutely. That being said, folks, go out there, be the best father you can. We're going to keep building right here. Forefathers, the Dad's Blueprint. Check it out.
Forefathers, the Dad Blueprint is brought to you by Lift One Inc. Follow, subscribe, and share Forefathers, the Dad Blueprint on YouTube at Lift One Forefathers or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Questions or comments? Email the podcast at liftoneforefathers@gmail.com. For more information on Lift One events, visit lift11.com. That's lift, the number one, ONE.com.